Hello. Good evening. Welcome back to this quiet little room. Outside, maybe rain is starting to fall, or the night wind is carrying the sound of rustling leaves against your window. Or perhaps there is only silence, a deep, heavy silence that sits on your chest like a cat that refuses to move. That kind of silence, the kind that comes after a long day, a day that asked too much of you, a day that took more than it gave. But that day is over now. Whatever happened out there, it's done. You don't need to carry it into this room. You don't need to replay conversations. You don't need to plan for tomorrow. Tomorrow will arrive when it arrives. And when it does, you will handle it. You always do. But right now is for sleeping. Tonight we are going somewhere different. Somewhere far from here. We are going to Japan. But not the Japan you see on television. Not the Japan of crowded trains and neon lights and people walking so fast their shoes barely touch the ground. No. We are going to the old Japan. The Japan of rice paddies and cedar forests. The Japan of villages so small they don't appear on any map. The Japan where grandmothers told stories by lantern light, and the only sound at night was the croaking of frogs and the whisper of wind through bamboo. Tonight's story is called Momotaro. Momotaro means peach son or peach boy. Asterisk Momo asterisk meaning peach. Asterisk Taro asterisk meaning eldest son. It is one of Japan's most beloved legends. A story about a child who came from nowhere. A child who was not born in the usual way. A child who arrived floating down a river inside a piece of fruit. But this is not just a story about a brave boy who fought monsters. This is a story about waiting. About hoping when hope seems foolish. About the quiet miracle that happens when you least expect it. This is a story for anyone who has ever felt like they don't belong. Like they arrived late. Like they were an accident. Like they have to prove they deserve to be here. Because Momotaro felt all of those things too. And still, he became a hero. Before we begin, let's settle in. Find the position that feels best for your body tonight. Maybe on your back, with your arms at your sides. Maybe on your side, with a pillow between your knees. Maybe curled up like a cat. There's no wrong way to sleep. Your body knows what it needs. Let your body decide. Now, take a breath in. A slow breath. Through your nose if that's comfortable. Fill your lungs from the bottom up. Like pouring water into a glass. Let your belly rise first. Then your ribs. Then your chest. Now hold it. Just for a moment. 1, 2, and release. Let the air leave through your mouth. Not pushing it out. Just letting it go. Like a sigh. Like you've been holding something all day and now you're finally allowed to put it down. Again. Breathe in. Slowly. Notice how the air feels. Is it cool? Warm? Does it have a smell? maybe the faint scent of your pillow, your blanket, your own skin. Hold and release. Longer this time. Let the sound of your breath be the only thing you hear. One more time. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your hands soften. Your legs can sink into the mattress now. Your feet too, as if your bed has become a boat floating on calm water, and you are lying in that boat, looking up at the stars, going nowhere, just floating. That's the feeling we want tonight. Floating, not sinking, not drowning, not struggling, just floating. Good. Now let this voice be the current that carries you. Not pushing, not pulling, just moving gently beneath you, supporting you, holding you up so you don't have to hold yourself. Let's begin. Deep in the mountains of Japan, in a time so long ago that even the oldest trees cannot remember it, there was a small village. The village had no name that anyone wrote down. If you asked the people who lived there where they were from, they would simply point toward the mountains and say, "Over there, by the river." And that was enough. In this village lived an old man and an old woman. They had been married for more years than either could count. Their hair had turned white. Their faces were covered with wrinkles like the surface of a dried riverbed. Their hands were bent and knotted from a lifetime of work. But their hearts were still young. Every morning, the old man would wake before the sun. He would put on his straw sandals and walk into the forest to cut wood. The wood was heavy. His back ached, but he did it anyway, because that was what you did. You got up. You worked. You came home. Every morning, the old woman would wake to the sound of birds. She would build a fire in the cooking hearth. She would boil water for rice. She would sweep the wooden floor with a broom made of twigs. Small tasks, gentle tasks, the kind of tasks that don't make history but make a home. They had lived this way for decades, and they had learned, over those decades, to find happiness in small things. The way the morning light fell across the tatami mats, the sound of rain on the roof at night, the first bite of a sweet potato fresh from the ashes. They were grateful people. They never complained about having too little. They never envied their neighbors who had more. They accepted their life as it was. A simple life. A quiet life. A life that asked nothing more than to be lived. But there was one thing that made the old woman's chest ache when she thought about it. One thing that made the old man stare at the ceiling some nights, unable to sleep. They had no child, no son to carry the family name, no daughter to help with the mending and the cooking and the carrying of water, no small voice calling them grandfather and grandmother. Just the two of them, alone in their house at the edge of the village, alone at the dinner table, alone when the sun went down and the only sound was the wind. The old woman tried not to think about it. She kept her hands busy. If you are washing clothes, you cannot cry. If you are chopping vegetables, you cannot mourn. This was her philosophy. Keep moving. Keep doing. Keep your hands occupied so your heart doesn't have time to break. But some nights, when the fire had burned down to embers and the old man was already snoring softly on his futon, she would sit by the window and look at the moon. And she would whisper, "Please, just one child before I die. I don't care if it's a boy or a girl. I don't care if they're strong or smart or beautiful. I just want someone to hold, someone to raise, someone to leave this house to when I'm gone." She never said these words to her husband. He carried his own sadness. She didn't want to add to it, so she whispered to the moon instead, to the gods, to the river, to whoever might be listening. Years passed. The moon never answered. The gods never sent a sign. The river kept flowing, carrying leaves and sticks and sometimes fish, but never a child. The old woman stopped whispering, not because she stopped hoping, but because hoping hurt too much. Then came the day that changed everything. It began like any other morning. The old man went to the forest with his axe. The old woman gathered the family's dirty clothes into a basket and walked down the path to the river. The path was steep in some places, flat in others. She had walked it so many times she could have done it in her sleep. Her feet knew where the rocks were. Her hands knew where to grab when the path became slippery. She reached the river. The water was clear that morning, unusually clear. She could see the bottom, the smooth stones, the shadows of fish moving between them. She knelt on the large flat rock she always used. Her knees cracked. They always cracked. She ignored them. She dipped the first piece of clothing into the water. The cold bit her fingers. She rubbed the fabric against the stone. Soap. Scrub. Rinse. Soap. Scrub. Rinse. A rhythm as old as rivers themselves. She had been washing for perhaps an hour when she noticed something unusual. A light. Not sunlight. Not a reflection. Something else. Something glowing faintly upstream. She stopped scrubbing. She looked up. And there it was, floating toward her on the current. A peach. But not a peach like any she had ever seen. This peach was enormous, larger than her head, larger than a melon, large enough that it rode high in the water instead of sinking like ordinary fruit. Its skin was the color of a sunset, orange-red and golden in places, and it seemed to glow. Not a bright light, but a soft one, like the light inside a paper lantern. The old woman's hands fell into her lap. She watched the peach float closer, and closer, and closer, until it bumped gently against the rock where she was kneeling. She reached out. Her hand trembled. She wasn't sure why. Maybe because the peach was so strange. Maybe because she sensed, somehow, that this was no ordinary piece of fruit. Her fingers touched the skin. It was warm. Warm like bread fresh from the oven. Warm like a kitten's belly. Warm like something alive. She lifted the peach from the water. It was heavy. Much heavier than she expected. She cradled it in both arms, holding it against her chest like a baby. For a long moment, she just stood there. The river flowed past her. The birds sang in the trees. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and the old woman held a glowing peach in her arms. She walked home faster than she had walked in years. Her legs ached. Her breath came in short gasps. But she didn't slow down. She couldn't. Something was pulling her forward. Something she couldn't name. When she reached the house, the old man was sitting on the porch, unlacing his straw sandals. He had come home from the forest early because he had forgotten his water flask. He looked up, and then he stared. What? He began. What is that? A peach, his wife said. From the river. That's not a peach. Peaches are not that big. Peaches do not glow. This one does. She set the fruit down on the wooden floor of the porch. It made a soft thump. The old man knelt beside it. He touched it. His eyes widened. It's warm. I know. Fruit from a river should be cold. I know. They stared at the peach. It glowed softly in the afternoon light. Well, said the old man finally, we should cut it open. See what's inside. Cut it open. Fruit is for eating. That's what fruit is for. The old woman wasn't sure. Something in her chest said, Asterisk, do not cut this peach. Something is inside. Something alive. Asterisk, but her husband was practical. He had always been practical. And perhaps he was right. Perhaps it was just a fruit. A strange, glowing, oversized fruit. She brought a knife from the kitchen. The blade was old but sharp. She placed the edge against the peach skin. She pressed, and before the knife could cut, the peach split open, by itself, with a sound like a sigh. Inside the peach was a baby boy. He was small. Smaller than most newborn babies. His skin was pink and smooth. His eyes were squeezed shut. His tiny fists were curled. And he was crying. Not the weak, tired cry of a sick baby. A strong cry. A loud cry. The kind of cry that says, Asterisk, I am here. I have arrived. Pay attention to me. Asterisk, the old woman's knees gave way. She sat down on the porch, hard. Her hands flew to her mouth. The old man dropped the knife. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Neither of them moved. They just stared at the baby inside the peach. And then the old woman reached out. Her hand was shaking so badly she could barely control it. But she reached into the peach and lifted the baby out. He was light. So light. Like holding a bird. Like holding a handful of feathers. She brought him to her chest. And he stopped crying. His eyes opened. He looked up at her. And he smiled. That was when the old woman began to cry. Not a few tears. Not a quiet sob. Great, heaving cries that came from somewhere deep inside her. Somewhere that had been holding sadness for so long it had forgotten how to let it go. The old man cried too. He wrapped his arms around his wife and around the baby. The three of them sat on the porch as the sun moved across the sky, holding each other, crying. The three of them sat on the porch as the sun moved across the sky, holding each other, crying, and laughing and crying again. They named the baby Momotaro, Peach Sun. Word spread quickly through the village. By evening, neighbors were gathering at the old couple's door, craning their necks to see the miraculous child. "Is it true?" they asked. "A baby from a peach?" They brought gifts. Rice, vegetables, a small blanket made of soft cotton, a wooden rattle carved by the village carpenter. The old woman accepted everything with tears in her eyes. She couldn't stop crying that day. Every time she looked at Momotaro, her eyes filled up again. It was as if a dam inside her had broken. For years, she had held back her sadness. Now it all came flooding out. And somehow, it wasn't sad anymore. It was relief. It was gratitude. It was the feeling of a prayer finally answered. That night, after the neighbors had gone home, the old couple sat beside their baby's bed. "Where did he come from?" the old man whispered. "I don't know," said the old woman. "The gods? Maybe. The river? Maybe. But he's here now. He's here now." They watched Momotaro sleep. His tiny chest rose and fell, rose and fell, rose and fell. Outside, the moon rose over the mountains. The river kept flowing. And somewhere upstream, no one knows where, a peach tree that no one had ever seen dropped one final fruit into the water. Let's pause here for a moment. Take a breath. You've been holding it, haven't you? Without realizing it. Your shoulders crept up. Your breath became shallow. This happens when we listen to stories. We lean in. We forget to breathe. So let's fix that. Breathe in. Slowly. Fill your belly first. Then your ribs. Then your chest. Hold. And release. Let the air leave your body like a wave leaving the shore. Again. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, imagine that you are the old woman. Not the sadness. The relief. The feeling of a prayer answered. The feeling of something you've wanted for so long finally arriving. You don't have to want a baby to understand that feeling. Maybe you've been waiting for something else. A phone call that never comes. a door that never opens, a wound that never heals. You know what waiting feels like, the way it sits in your chest, the way it makes everything else feel smaller and dimmer, the way you learn to live with it, to walk around it, to pretend it isn't there. But tonight, you don't have to pretend. Tonight, you can rest. Because just like the old woman, you don't know what's floating down the river toward you. You don't know what miracle is getting ready to arrive. All you have to do is keep showing up. Keep going to the river. Keep washing the clothes. Keep living your life. And one day, without warning, the peach will appear. Let that thought carry you. Let it be soft beneath you like the current. Now breathe out. And let's continue. Momotaro grew faster than any child the village had ever seen. At 3 months, he was crawling. At 6 months, he was walking. At 9 months, he was running. By his first birthday, he could lift a rock that took 2 grown men to move. The old woman sometimes worried. "Is this normal?" she asked her husband. "Is any of this normal?" he answered. And they both laughed. Momotaro was a good child, a kind child. He helped his father carry wood from the forest. He helped his mother fetch water from the river. He never complained about the work, even when his arms ached and his feet were sore. But he was different from the other children. Not just stronger, different in his heart. The other children had parents who were young. Parents who could run and jump and play. Momotaro's parents were old. They walked slowly. They tired easily. They fell asleep before the sun had fully set. Some of the village children were cruel. They pointed at Momotaro's parents and whispered, "Look at them. They're older than his grandparents. He must be adopted. He doesn't look like them. Maybe he's not really their son. Maybe they found him somewhere." Momotaro heard these whispers. They hurt. But he never told his parents. He didn't want to make them sad. Instead, he worked harder. He carried more wood. He fetched more water. He stayed close to his parents when they walked through the village, as if to say, "These are my parents. I am." He stayed close to his parents when they walked through the village, as if to say, "These are my parents. I am proud of them." If you have a problem with that, you have a problem with me. And because Momotaro was already taller and stronger than most adults, the whispers eventually stopped. People learned to keep their cruelty to themselves. Years passed. Momotaro became a young man. He was tall now, with broad shoulders and strong arms. His face was kind, but his eyes were serious. He had seen how the world treated his parents. He had learned to watch, to listen, to wait. The village had a problem. Not far from the shore, across a stretch of dark water, there was an island. On that island lived monsters. The monsters were called Oni. They had red skin and blue skin and green skin. Some had 1 horn. Some had 2. Some had 3. Their teeth were sharp like needles. Their fingers ended in claws that could tear through wood. Every few months, the Oni would sail to the village. They came at night, when the moon was hidden behind clouds. They broke down doors. They stole food from the storehouses. They took jewelry and coins and silk. They stole children's toys, just for the pleasure of watching children cry. And then they left, sailing back across the water to their island fortress, laughing as they went. No one fought back. The village had no samurai, no soldiers, no weapons beyond a few old swords that hung on walls as decorations. The village chief had tried, once, to organize a defense. It did not go well. The Oni killed 2 men and injured 5 others. After that, everyone agreed it was better to just give the monsters what they wanted. Better to lose your rice than lose your husband. Better to wake up poor than not wake up at all. Momotaro was 7 years old when the Oni first came to his village. He remembered it clearly. He had been sleeping in the back room of the house, his futon pushed against the wall. His parents were sleeping in the main room, closer to the door. He woke to a sound. A crash. The front door splintering. His father's voice, shouting. His mother's voice, screaming. Momotaro wanted to run to them. His legs were strong. His heart was brave. But something held him back. Something his mother had once told him. If the monsters come, hide. Hide until morning. Do not make a sound. Do not come out until you hear the birds sing. So he hid. He pressed himself into the corner of the closet. He pulled an old blanket over his head. He clamped his hands over his ears. And he listened. He heard his father pleading. He heard his mother crying. He heard the deep, rough voices of the Oni, laughing as they tore through the house, taking everything of value. When they left, Momotaro stayed in the closet for a long time. Even after the birds sang. Even after the sun rose. Even after his mother came to find him, her face bruised, her clothes torn. He stayed in the closet until his mother wrapped her arms around him and said, "It's over. They're gone. You're safe." But Momotaro knew. He wasn't safe. None of them were safe. The Oni would come back. They always came back. Years later, Momotaro stood at the edge of the village, looking out at the sea. He was 15 now. He had watched the Oni attack 3 more times. Each time, they took more. Each time, the village had less to give. His parents grew older. Their backs bent further. Their hands shook more. And Momotaro made a decision. That evening, at dinner, he said it out loud. "Father, Mother, I am going to Oni Island." His mother dropped her chopsticks. His father stopped chewing. The silence stretched between them like a rope pulled tight. "No," his father said finally. "No, son. You cannot." "I can," said Momotaro, and I will. You are 15 years old. The Oni don't care how old I am. They care about strength, and I am strong. You have never fought a monster. Then I will learn. His mother began to cry, silent tears sliding down her wrinkled cheeks. Please, she whispered. Please don't. I cannot lose you. I found you in a peach. You are a miracle. Please don't throw yourself away. Momotaro reached across the table and took his mother's hand. Mother, he said softly, you prayed for a child for years. The gods sent me. Do you think they sent me just? Do you think they sent me just to sit here while monsters terrorize our village? Do you think they made me strong so I could carry wood and fetch water? His mother shook her head. I was sent for this, Momotaro said. I know it. In my bones, I know it. His father put down his chopsticks. He sat very still for a long time. Then he stood up. He walked to the cabinet in the corner of the room. He opened it. From the back, behind old papers and broken tools, he pulled out a sword. The blade was short. The handle was wrapped in black cord. The metal was old and slightly rusted. This belonged to my grandfather, his father said. He was a samurai. Before the wars, before everything changed. He gave me this sword when I was a boy, and he told me, keep it. One day, someone in our family will need it. His father held the sword out to Momotaro. I think that day has come. Momotaro took the sword. It felt heavy in his hands. Not physically heavy. Heavy with meaning. Heavy with years. He tied it to his waist. Then his mother stood. She went to the kitchen. She took rice flour and sugar and millet. She mixed them together with water, kneading the dough with her old, stiff fingers. She formed small round dumplings. She cooked them over the fire until they were golden brown and fragrant. She wrapped them in bamboo leaves. Kibidango, she said, handing the bundle to her son. Millet dumplings. Your favorite. Take them with you. Eat one when you need strength. Momotaro took the bundle. He kissed his mother's forehead. He bowed to his father, and he walked out the door. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and red, the color of peaches.
Let's rest here for a moment. Take a breath. The journey is long, and Momotaro hasn't even reached the shore yet. You don't have to travel with him tonight. You can stay here, in this warm house, with this old couple who just let their son go. You can feel what they feel. The love. The fear. The pride wrapped around terror like a bandage over a wound. Maybe you know that feeling. Letting someone you love walk into danger. Holding the door open even though every part of you wants to slam it shut and lock it and never let them leave. That is what love looks like sometimes. Not holding on. Letting go.
Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Let that feeling sit with you for a moment. And when you're ready, we'll follow Momotaro. No rush. Momotaro walked down the path toward the sea. The village behind him grew smaller and smaller. The houses shrank to dots. The voices faded to nothing. Soon there was only the road, the trees on either side, and the moon rising overhead. He had been walking for perhaps an hour when he saw something ahead. A shape, sitting in the middle of the path. As he got closer, he saw it was a dog. A large dog. White fur. Pointed ears. Eyes that glowed yellow in the darkness. Momotaro stopped. He had never seen a dog this large. It was the size of a small horse. The dog did not move. It just sat there, staring at him. "Hello," Momotaro said. The dog tilted its head. "You're not afraid of me," the dog said. Momotaro did not flinch. He had heard stories of animals speaking in the old days. It was unusual, but not impossible. Should I be afraid? Most people are. I'm not most people. The dog's tail wagged once, twice. "I know," said the dog. "I've been watching you. Since you were small. Since you lifted that rock no one else could lift. I've been waiting for this night." "Waiting for what?" "For you to walk this path. For you to go where you're going. I want to come with you." Momotaro considered this. "I'm going to Oni Island." "I know. I might not come back." "I know. Are you still coming?" The dog stood up. It walked to Momotaro's side and sat down again. "I am." Momotaro reached into his bundle of kibidango. He took out one dumpling and offered it to the dog. The dog ate it in one bite. "This is good," the dog said. "My mother made them." "Your mother is a good cook." "She is." They walked together. They hadn't gone far when a chattering sound came from the trees. A monkey. A monkey dropped down from the branches, landing lightly on the path in front of them. It was a brown monkey, with clever eyes and a long tail that curled at the end. "Where are you going?" the monkey asked. "Oni Island," said Momotaro. "Can I come?" "Why would you want to come?" "The Oni stole my wife." The monkey's voice was flat. No emotion. Just fact. Momotaro stopped walking. "They took her 2 years ago," the monkey continued. "She was gathering fruit in the forest near the shore. The Oni came in their boat. They grabbed her and left. I've been waiting ever since for someone to go to that island. Someone strong enough to fight. I was starting to think no one would ever come." Momotaro looked at the monkey. The monkey looked back. "I'm going to that island," Momotaro said. "I'm going to fight the Oni. I'm going to take back what they stole." The monkey nodded. "Then I'm coming with you." Momotaro gave the monkey a kibidango. The monkey ate it in 3 quick bites. "Delicious," said the monkey. "Can I have another?" "Later," said Momotaro. Save some for the journey." The monkey climbed onto Momotaro's shoulder and rode there as they continued walking. The path led them to a clearing. In the clearing stood a large bird, a pheasant. Its feathers were a riot of color: green, gold, copper, blue. Its tail was long and elegant. Its eyes were sharp and black. The bird did not ask permission. It simply said, "I'm coming with you." "To Oni Island?" asked Momotaro. "To Oni Island." "Why?" "Because I can fly. Because I can see from above. Because you'll need eyes in the sky." The bird did not mention any personal reason. No stolen wife. No destroyed home. Just a simple offer of help. Momotaro respected that. He offered the bird a kibidango. The bird pecked at it once, twice, and swallowed. "Good," said the bird. "Let's go." The bird flew ahead, circling above the path, watching for danger. Momotaro walked with the dog on one side and the monkey on his shoulder. 4 companions, 4 friends, heading toward the sea. They reached the shore just as the moon reached its highest point. The water was dark. The waves were small. And there, pulled up on the sand, was a boat. It was not a large boat. It would hold 4, maybe 5, if they squeezed close together. The wood was weathered but strong. The sail was patched but whole. "Whose boat is this?" Momotaro asked. No one answered. There was no one on the beach. No houses nearby. No fishing nets drying in the sun. The boat had simply been left there. For them. Momotaro did not question this. He had learned, in the past few hours, to accept strange things without asking why. He pushed the boat into the water. The dog jumped in. The monkey climbed the mast. The bird flew overhead. And Momotaro sat at the front, facing the dark island in the distance. He took out one kibidango and ate it. Sweet. Warm. His mother's hands had made this. Her old, stiff fingers had kneaded this dough. Her tired eyes had watched it cook. He ate slowly. Then he picked up the paddle. And they sailed. The sea was calm. The sky was clear. The stars reflected on the water like scattered diamonds. The dog lay at the bottom of the boat, its head on its paws, watching the stars go by. The monkey sat on the mast, occasionally reaching out to touch the sail. The bird flew in lazy circles above. And Momotaro paddled. Slowly, steadily, not fighting the water, moving with it. He thought about his parents. His mother, who had never stopped hoping, even when hope was foolish. His father, who had kept a sword for 40 years, waiting for a son to give it to. He thought about the village. The people who had whispered about him when he was small. The people who had learned to keep their cruelty to themselves. The people who would wake up tomorrow and find him gone. Would they miss him? Would they even notice? He pushed the thought away. It didn't matter. What mattered was the island. Getting closer now. He could see it. Dark against the stars. A fortress on the hill. Lights in the windows. The sound of music and laughter drifting across the water. The Oni were awake. They were celebrating. They had no idea what was. They had no idea what was coming. Let's pause here. The boat is still moving. The island is still far. You have time. Breathe in. Feel the cool air fill your lungs. Breathe out. Feel the tension leave your body. Imagine you are in the boat with Momotaro. Not as a fighter. Not as a warrior. Just as a passenger. Lying at the bottom of the boat, looking up at the stars. The water rocks you gently. The dog's warm body is beside you. The monkey's tail hangs down from above. The bird's shadow passes over you every few seconds. You are safe. You are not going to Oni Island. That's Momotaro's journey. Not yours. Your journey is to the shore of sleep. And that shore is getting closer. So close you can almost feel the sand beneath your feet. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let's continue. The boat touched the shore of Oni Island. The sand was black. Not dark. Not grey. Black. As if the island itself had been burned and never healed. Momotaro stepped out. The dog jumped out beside him. The monkey climbed down from the mast. The bird landed on a rock nearby. The fortress loomed ahead. Its walls were made of black stone. Its gates were iron. Torches burned at the entrance, casting orange light on the faces of Oni guards. 2 of them. Large, red-skinned, horns curving from their foreheads like swords. They held spears. They were laughing about something. Momotaro turned to his companions. "The dog and I will go through the front," he whispered. "Monkey, you climb the wall and find the treasure room. Bird, you fly above and tell us where the Oni King is." "What will you do?" asked the monkey. "I'll make a lot of noise," said Momotaro. "I'll draw them to me. While they're busy, you take everything that belongs to the village and load it into the boat." "That's a terrible plan," said the dog. "It's the only plan," said Momotaro. "Fair enough," said the dog. They moved. The dog ran toward the gates, barking loudly. The Oni guards turned. They saw a large white dog charging at them, teeth bared. "What is this?" one of them shouted. "A dog," said the other. "How did a dog get to this island?" The dog did not answer with words. He answered with his teeth. He leaped at the first guard, biting his arm. The guard screamed. The second guard raised his spear, but before he could throw it, Momotaro appeared from the shadows. The sword was in his hand. He swung. The spear snapped in half. The guard stared at the broken weapon. Then he stared at Momotaro. "You're a child," the guard said. "I'm a child with a sword," said Momotaro. Now take me to your king." The guard ran, not toward Momotaro, away from him, into the fortress, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Intruder! Intruder in the courtyard!" The music stopped, the laughter stopped, and from inside the fortress came the sound of many feet. Running, the Oni poured out of the fortress like ants from a disturbed nest. Red ones, blue ones, green ones, big ones, small ones, horns of every size, teeth of every sharpness. They carried clubs and axes and swords and spears. They surrounded Momotaro and the dog. "Ha!" said one of the Oni, a large blue creature with 3 horns, a boy and a dog. "This is the intruder." "He broke my spear," said the guard who had run away. "Then you're a coward and a fool," said the blue Oni. "I'll handle this myself." He stepped forward. He was twice Momotaro's height. His arms were thick as tree trunks. His club was made of iron. "Any last words, boy?" he asked. Momotaro looked at him. "I have many last words," he said, "but none for you." He moved. Fast. Faster than the Oni expected. The sword flashed. The blue Oni's club went flying. His fingers followed it. 3 of them. Cut clean off. The blue Oni stared at his hand. Then he screamed. The other Oni hesitated. They had never seen anyone hurt one of them like this. Never. The villagers never fought back. The villagers just gave them what they wanted and begged for mercy. This boy was not begging. This boy was cutting off fingers. "Kill him!" someone shouted. The Oni charged. The dog fought beside Momotaro like a creature from legend. He bit legs. He tore at ankles. He knocked Oni to the ground and held them there. He knocked Oni to the ground and held them there while Momotaro disarmed them. Above, the bird watched. "The treasure room is on the east side," the bird called down. "The monkey is inside. He's loading the boat. Keep him safe." Momotaro shouted back, "The monkey can take care of himself." The Oni kept coming, but Momotaro kept cutting, not killing. He didn't want to kill. He just wanted them to stop. He cut their weapons from their hands. He cut their belts so their pants fell down. He cut their horns, not off, just enough to remind them what he could do. One by one, the Oni fell back. They were afraid now. They had never been afraid before. Not on their own island. Not in their own fortress. Then the Oni king appeared. He was enormous. Larger than any Oni Momotaro had ever seen. His skin was deep red, almost purple. His horns were black and curved like a ram's. His eyes burned yellow. He carried a massive axe. "Who dares?" he roared. The Oni parted to let him through. Momotaro stood his ground. The dog stood beside him, growling. I am Momotaro, said the boy, son of the old man and old woman from the village across the sea. You have been stealing from my people for years. Tonight, you stop. The Oni King laughed. It was a terrible sound, like rocks grinding together. Stop, he said. Why would I stop? Your people are weak. Your people are afraid. Your people give me whatever I want. My people are not weak, said Momotaro. They are patient. There is a difference. The Oni King stopped laughing. He looked at Momotaro. Really looked. Peach boy, he said. I've heard of you. Then you know what I can do. I know what they say. I don't believe it. Then come closer, said Momotaro, and find out. The Oni King swung his axe. The blade whistled through the air. Momotaro dropped to the ground. The axe passed over his head. He rolled, came up behind the king. The sword in his hand was not large enough to wound a creature this size, but he didn't need to wound him. He just needed to reach his head. Momotaro climbed. He grabbed the king's belt, then his back, then his shoulder. The king roared and spun, trying to throw him off, but Momotaro held on. He climbed higher, higher, until he was sitting on the king's neck. The king's hands reached up to grab him, but the dog was there. The dog bit the king's wrist. The king screamed, and in that moment, Momotaro raised his sword and cut, not the king's throat, his horn, the left horn. It fell to the ground with a heavy thud. The Oni King went still. No, he whispered. Momotaro cut the right horn. It fell beside the left. The Oni King dropped his axe. He fell to his knees. All his strength was gone. My horns, he said. My power. Your power was never in your horns, said Momotaro. It was in the fear you created. And fear is not power. Fear is weakness. The king looked up at the boy. What are you going to do with me? Nothing, said Momotaro. You're going to leave this island. You're going to take your Oni and find somewhere else to live. Somewhere far from my village. And you're never going to steal from anyone again. And if I refuse? Momotaro held up the sword. Then I'll cut more than your horns. The Oni King looked at the other Oni. They were all watching, waiting. They had never seen their king defeated. They had never seen anyone defeat him. Slowly, the king stood. Take what you came for, he said. Then leave. My village's things. Yours. All of it. Take it. And promise me something. What? Promise me you'll never come back. The Oni King was silent for a long time. Then he nodded. I promise. The monkey had already loaded the boat. Piles of rice, bags of vegetables, boxes of jewelry, kimonos, tools, children's toys, everything the Oni had stolen over the years. Momotaro looked at it all. His parents' rice bowl. He recognized it. The blue one with the crack in the rim. He picked it up, held it in his hands. Then he carried it to the boat. The dog helped. The monkey helped. The bird flew above, watching for tricks. But there were no tricks. The Oni stood in the courtyard, watching them go. No one spoke. The only sounds were footsteps and the creak of the boat. When everything was loaded, Momotaro climbed into the boat. The dog lay down beside him. The monkey climbed the mast. The bird flew ahead. Momotaro looked back at the island, at the Oni king, standing in the gateway, his horns gone, his hands empty. "Remember your promise," Momotaro called. The Oni king said nothing. He just watched. The boat pushed away from the shore. The sea was calm. The stars were bright. And Momotaro began to paddle. Dawn was breaking when the boat reached the village shore. The sky was pink and gold. The birds were singing. And the village was awake. Everyone had gathered by the water. They had seen the boat coming. They had seen the piles of stolen goods. They had seen Momotaro standing at the front, his sword at his waist, his face tired but smiling. His mother was the first to reach him. She waded into the water, her old legs stumbling, her arms reaching. "Momotaro," she said. "Mother," he said. She pulled him out of the boat and held him. She held him so tightly he could barely breathe. But he didn't ask her to stop. He hugged her back. His father was there too. His old, bent back straight for once. His wrinkled hand resting on his son's shoulder. "You came back," his father said. "I said I would." "I know, but I didn't dare believe it." "Believe it now." His father smiled. "I believe it now." The villagers carried everything from the boat. The Oni never returned. The village was safe. And every spring, when the peach trees blossomed, Momotaro would walk down to the river. He would sit on the rock where his mother had found him. He would watch the water flow past, and he would remember where he came from, who he belonged to, what he was meant to do. Now, close your eyes. If they're not already closed, close them now. Let the darkness be soft. Let it wrap around you like a blanket. Let the day fall away. The worries, the should-haves, the what-ifs, they don't live here. This is not their home. This is your home. Your bed. Your pillow. Your breath. Take a final breath. In and out. Feel your heartbeat. Slower now. Softer. Like a drum in the distance. Like footsteps walking away. Like a door closing gently. If you wake up in the middle of the night, that's fine. Go back to sleep. If you dream of peaches floating down a river, that's fine too. Let them float. If you don't remember anything tomorrow morning, that's more than fine. Your body remembers. Your mind doesn't need to. You are safe. You are loved. You are not alone. Good night. Sleep well. And we'll meet again in another story from another land, another night. But for now, just sleep.